Hi Tom, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks. No Stacey again today?
Nah, she's not feeling well today.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
hopefully she'll get better soon, yeah?
Yeah.
Can I get you anything? Tea, coffee,
Nah, I'm
water?
good. All good. Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay. Alright, so today's meeting is just going to be another brief one, just going over the financial strategies that I've put in place
Okay.
that I believe will help you achieve your goals that you've outlined to me, and I've also assumed some of your needs that I believe that you should have.
Okay.
This is the financial report that I've provided. In this, the strategies in a bit more detail. Obviously, I'm going to cover off on them, but I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm just going to cover them, just outline what they are.
Yep, I'll cover it.
So I broke down the strategy into 4 main areas. We've got investments, we've got borrowings, we've got insurances, and we've got estate planning.
Okay.
So I'm just going to cover off each of those areas.
Yep.
Do you have any questions before we start?
Nah.
No, not yet? Okay. So before I went into detail in these areas, I looked at your risk tolerance and how you react to risk, and came up with your risk profile. And from that, you completed a risk profile questionnaire, which helped me get more information on your tolerance to risk. And I believe that you're a moderately aggressive investor, which means that you aim to get higher growth over the long term. So you invest in more risky assets, such as shares or property, which will help you fund your retirement when you aim to retire. So in regards to that, the first area that I'm going to talk about is investments. So in this area, because obviously I've identified you as moderately aggressive, I think that the main areas you should target are shares, which is outlined in more detail there. And I've made ways in which you can acquire some additional funds that you can invest in shares, where you can grab from elsewhere. So I've kind of looked at it and played around with how you can acquire some additional funds that you can use to invest in shares, and hopefully get some gains over the long term. In regards to property, I know that you said your friends had mentioned that you might think about investing in an investment property. At the minute, I think that's not really feasible based on your current financial situation, so we can look at introducing that in the near future. And also your cash savings that you have, like I said before, you're going to be acquiring funds from elsewhere, which will hopefully allow you to save a little bit more. Okay, so that's pretty much just an overview of the investments that I've made, but obviously they're in more detail in the guide there. The second one is borrowings. So as we mentioned in our previous meeting, I believe that your highest level of debt that you have is your credit card, and I believe that you should target that first. So what I've done, just to show you the importance of your credit card, is I've showed you a graph here with your principal in the first month starting at 16,000, and after the first year, you can see that hasn't really changed. So do you understand that? Do you understand what that means? So this is your principal amount of 16,000, so the amount that you've maxed out your credit card, and after 12 months you can see it's only moved probably a few $100s.
Okay, so after 1 year it's only that much.
Yeah, so that means that you've been mainly paying the interest.
Okay.
So even though you believe that you could continue to pay the minimum amount, you're not really reducing the amount on your credit card, it's going all to interest.
So how long do you think it might take?
Based on this, I think it could take around 60 years.
Oh, really?
So that's why I think one of your main areas to target is your credit card. And in order to target that, again, I think that we can acquire additional funds for maybe reducing the amount you pay in your car each week. Because I currently believe that you have a car of around 25,000, Stacey around 50,000. And then based on what you're paying each week of around $900, I think that might be a little bit too much, and we can use maybe half of that elsewhere to target your credit card. As well as that, I believe your rental expenses, we can maybe consider reducing that a little bit, again to use elsewhere to target your credit cards, and like I mentioned before.
Thinking about money,
yeah, I think that's a good move. The third one is insurances. So I currently believe that you have no insurances in place apart from your car insurance at the minute. So what I've done, I've assumed that you need this because I think it's important for every young couple to have, especially you and Stacey. So what I've done is I've outlined here the 3 main types of insurances, and again this is in more detail in your report there. So the first one is life and TDP. So I've calculated for Stacey she'll probably need an amount cover of 765, and for you 340. For trauma, Stacey will need 150, and Tom, you will need 115. And for income protection, I believe that you both need it because Stacey is the main income earner at the minute, so I believe that she definitely needs it in case anything happens to her that could stop your cash inflows and affect you financially. And Tom, I believe that in the near future your income will steadily grow, so I believe that maybe not consider it now, but definitely in the near future consider getting income protection, which will be about 85% of your gross income per year.
Okay.
So based on those figures, for Stacey it would mean a premium per annum of around $3,300,
Okay.
and for you, Tom, it would probably be around $1,300 per annum.
Okay. And how did you manage to calculate?
How I calculate those figures? So what I did is I look at your gross income, I look at what assets and liabilities you have, and I look at what personal debt commitments you have,
Yep.
and then we calculate it based on that. And then that provides us with the amount that I believe that you need to be covered for.
Yep. And it seems like Stacey's one is higher. Why?
Stacey's one is considerably high because obviously, like I said, she's the main income earner, so if her income was to stop for some reason, then you will require this amount of cover to help you with your income pay off your debt commitments and your everyday expenses. Okay, so the final thing that I'm just going to briefly talk about is estate planning. So I believe that you currently don't have a will or a power of attorney in place.
Nah, not at the moment.
Okay, so what I recommend is that you and Stacey establish a will, just so you're aware when you pass away that your assets and your estate is in good hands with somebody that you trust, with your trust. And also a power of attorney, so when you pass away your estate is controlled and you can distribute your wealth accordingly. Rather than if you didn't have a will, then it would come down to the government and they would decide how your assets would get distributed. Okay, so they're the four areas that I've just briefly talked about. Again, they're in more detail. If you have any questions or you believe any of the information I've provided or any of the assumptions I've made to be inaccurate or incomplete, then just let me know and I can make the necessary adjustments for the near future. And apart from that, do you have any more questions?
Nah, I think I'll have a look at this.
Yep, definitely have a read through with Stacey. Just let me know what you think. You've got my email, you've got my number, so you can just give me a call, let me know what you think. And yeah, that's about it. Until I see you next time.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, thanks for that, Tom. Have a good day.